Chairman, I want to thank you for not only the panel that's before us, but the panel you tried to have before us. Not only did Ben Rhodes not appearing cost us an opportunity to question Mr. Rhodes, it cost us the opportunity and the privilege to ask questions of our friend and colleague Tommy Cotton. Speaking of constitutional crisis, hauling a United States senator before a committee of Congress would really have created a constitutional crisis. So good thing for us, Tommy was willing to come on his own, and it would have, the background contrast would have been interesting to me. You know, the White House is very critical of Senator Cotton and has been for several months now. Senator Cotton, of course, when he was serving tours of duty in the United States Army in Afghanistan and Iraq, Ben Rhodes was navigating the mean streets of a creative writing curriculum in his post. I mean that literally. That is not figurative. He has a master's in creative writing. And if you're interested in writing haikus and sonnets and novellas, he's probably the right guy. On the other hand, if you're advising the leader of the free world on foreign policy matters, I don't know how a haiku helps. But I would have enjoyed the opportunity to ask Mr. Rhodes how his background prepared him to sell the Iranian deal, but yet Tommy Cotton's background did not prepare him to criticize the Iranian deal. That would have been an interesting dichotomy for me. But what I really wanted to do, Mr. Chairman, was ask Mr. Rhodes to help me, as Gruber did in the past, understand what he meant by certain things. Mr. Chairman, he said, we created an echo chamber. Does the chairman know who we is?
I do not.
Well, certainly he couldn't be referring to other presidential advisors, because he then invoked executive privilege, and he can't be talking about what other presidential advisors said. So it couldn't be that, could it?
I do not know.
Okay. Well, then he said, reporters call us to explain to them what's happening in Moscow and Cairo. And I'm curious which reporters that would be. Which ones call him to find out what's going on in Cairo? But we can't ask him because he's not here. And I would add, he has plenty of time to sit down for what he had hoped to be a fluff piece in the New York Times. He's been on television plenty of times. He had plenty of time to draft memos for the president, but he doesn't have time to come before a committee of Congress. And then this is what really concerns me, Mr. Chairman. In talking about those reporters, he said they literally know nothing. How does someone literally know nothing? He said they were 27 years old, which suggests that they probably have a driver's license at that point. You have to know something to get a driver's license. If they're 27, they'd be eligible to vote in the Democrat primary, more than likely. So you have to know something. So when you say they literally know nothing, that struck me. I wanted to ask him about that. Also, I think that his appearance today, had he bothered to come, would have created an opportunity for a little bit of bipartisanship, which I know our friends on the other side of the aisle like from time to time. It said he expressed contempt for the editors and reporters at the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the New Yorker. That might have provided an opportunity for some bipartisanship. It would have given us an opportunity to share our own frustrations. But he didn't come. Mr. Chairman, you do a great job leading this committee. It's up to you whether or not you assert the people's right to question Ben Rhodes. But this selective use of executive privilege on one day, but it's not executive privilege on the next, at some point Congress is going to have to stick up for itself. We're going to have to decide whether or not we do have a right to question people. And if you have time to make these comments to a reporter, you ought to be able to come explain yourself. And if you have time at the White House to send a bunch of mean tweets about a guy who served 2 combat tours in Tommy Cotton, and he's willing to come, but the creative writing expert isn't willing to come, at some point this body is going to have to stick up for itself. With that, I'd yield back to the chairman.
Thank the gentleman. Well, now